Hi, I'm C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health. Hello, good evening, and welcome everyone. I am so excited to be back in my kitchen with you all. I have been gone for 7.5 months in New Orleans, and it was a blessing. I'm blessed, so I'm not complaining. But there's nothing like being in your home kitchen. There's nothing like sleeping in your bed. Um, just happy to be here. And I'm so happy that I decided to create and to demo a delicious kind of like tummy warming, comforting dish this evening, but with a health-based slant. So this evening, what I'm going to be doing is a decadent French toast, completely plant-based. Our custard is not going to have any eggs or any animal milk or anything like that in it. It's going to be purely plant-based. What's great about this dish also is it is very adaptable depending on if you're somebody who eats sugar, if you're somebody who uses stevia in place of sugar or monk fruit in place of sugar. All of these things are adaptable. If you don't do white bread and you do wheat bread, you can just sub it out. If you're gluten-free, you can do that as well. There's just a few basic things that you need to do to make the best French toast. Okay? So our French toast this evening is comprised of, let's see, 5 ingredients. Okay? We have some plant milk. I have some oat milk here, and I use the extra creamy oat milk because I want my custard to be thick and luscious. So that's why I'm using this. If you want to be super decadent, you could use coconut milk, but this Chobani oat is perfect for this. I am also using some extra firm tofu. This is going to also give us that thickness that we need for our custard to get into our bread. We've got to have that. Some people use a softer tofu. I have used a soft tofu when I'm doing things like a vegan bread pudding, but that really saturates, and that works when you're going to bake it in the oven and it's got like 45 minutes to dry out and fluff up. We don't have that amount of time with our French toast, so we're going to use tofu that is extra firm. This delicious recipe, which actually would make about 6 to 8 slices of French toast, only uses 2 tablespoons of sugar. And you can swap this out with coconut sugar if you want. You can swap it out with stevia. You can swap it out with monk fruit. You can swap it out with coconut sugar. 2 tablespoons of sugar for the entire custard. And again, you could probably get 6 to 8, maybe even 10 slices, depending on how thick you do the slices. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're going to use 2 teaspoons of vanilla, or you can even do something like almond extract. I love almond. I love marzipan. I love almond. So you can even switch that out and give your French toast a little bit of a different flavor, or you could do a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of almond extract. I'm obsessed with cardamom. It's something that my mother used to use, especially during the holidays. And as far as I'm concerned, it's still the holidays. So some cardamom, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of that in there. You can use cinnamon or you can omit it altogether. This is just my little favorite something that I use. We've got some berries, we've got the bread, and I'm going to talk with you a little bit about this bread. I'm actually using Cuban bread today that I picked up from Sprouts. Cuban bread, I like it because it's got this crusty exterior, but it's really light and airy on the inside, and it works so good for bread puddings and French toast. If you can't find Cuban bread, you can always use French bread. So this is my toast, and again, I'm going to get back to this in a minute. What we're also going to do this evening is we're going to make some coconut whipped cream. And so I purchased this. This is made by Nature's Charm. It's one of my favorite products. And I literally buy these and I keep them in the refrigerator because they have to be cold. They have to be refrigerated to use them. And I never know when I may want some luscious coconut whipped cream. So I have 2 cans that I buy them and I put them in the refrigerator. So whenever I want to whip this up, it's ready to go. So to this, you will add whatever sweetener you would like. So I have here an example of a sweetener that can be used. Erythritol. This is a powdered erythritol. It is made from fruit and plants, and it has a glycemic index of 0. So if you wanted to try something like this in place of typical confectioner sugar, go for it. This is a great substitute. Has a little bit of a different taste, but when we're more concerned about our health than that, let's try it. And then we're gonna have some fresh berries on here. There's gonna be a lot going on, so you may not even really notice it. I always love to add some ginger to my whip and a little bit of lemon. So either lemon juice or lemon zest. I'm actually going to be using a little bit of lemon juice. This lemon juice, I'm ashamed. I forgot to get my lemon. So we're going to be using just a titch of this today, just to add some brightness to our coconut whipped cream. So let's talk about this bread. We are using Cuban bread, or you can use French bread. You can use basically any kind of bread. You could use brioche bread. If you're vegan, you can't use brioche because it has butter, but you can use brioche bread. You can use whole wheat French bread. The thing that you must remember about making French toast is it must be stale. Why must it be stale? This is key. If it's not stale and it's fresh, there's 2 things that are going to happen. You're going to taste the bread, and French toast is really something where you want the flavor of that custard to come through. You don't want it competing with the flavor of the bread. And when bread is stale, it tends to lose its flavor. Okay, so it's just kind of a vehicle for our French toast. The second thing is, when it's stale, it will absorb more of that custard. And I know it seems counterintuitive. It seems like the fresher it is, the softer it is, the more that it will take in. It will, but then it will fall apart. It gets super, super soggy. So we want our bread to be stale. So what happens if, again, at the last minute you decide, I want to make French toast and I haven't left it out? So let me tell you, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just cut it up and I'll leave it out on the counter, or I'll put it on a pan and I'll put it in the oven overnight. And that's perfect for kind of tempering your bread to make it stale. If you cannot do that, what you want to do is you want to turn your oven to 300 degrees and you want to put your bread on something like this or directly on the racks, not on a sheet pan, not on a cookie sheet, because we want it to evenly dry out. So when we put it on something like this, you've got the heat hitting it from below, and from on top, okay? So that's what we want to do. I put mine in the oven for about 4 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, because my oven is like supercharged. So you've got to know your oven. I would start out with less time and then work my way up. So that's key. And also, we want thick slices of French toast. So I typically go between 1 inch to 1.5 inches, okay? So this loaf right here, I've already cut probably about 6 slices off. So that's the other great thing about this dish. It's pretty inexpensive. You're using 1 cup of oat milk. You're using 1/2 cup of tofu, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a little bit of salt, some fresh berries. This bread was $1.99. You can have a beautiful brunch dish, or if you want to do breakfast for dinner, you can have a beautiful dinner dish, or even a dessert for what, like under $8 for 4 to 6 people. So it's really, really inexpensive. And going back to what I just said about having this for dinner, we need to break ourselves out of believing that certain things need to be eaten a certain time of day. And that's especially relevant when I'm talking about plant-based and people that are changing their diet and they're going from eating meat to vegan. There's so many things that we get caught up in that creates us kind of duplicating these bad patterns. What am I talking about? So for example, breakfast is sausage and eggs, right? So we're no longer eating beef sausage or turkey sausage. We're no longer eating chicken eggs. So we go out and we buy, vegan sausage and vegan bacon and all of these things, which are better than the meat protein, coming from the animals, but it's not best. Because if you look at a lot of the ingredients in a lot of these meat analogs, which is the word for like meat substitutes, they're packed full of preservatives and salt. So what I'm encouraging you to do is start to adapt new habits for breakfast. There's no reason you can't have some stir-fried spinach for breakfast, along with some quinoa and a piece of avocado and some sweet potato or something like that. Break out of that. Eat for nutrition. Okay, that needs to be our bottom line. And while I'm talking about that, I'm going to be very, very candid. I made a video earlier that I did not post, but I have not only fallen off the wagon, I'm being dragged by the wagon. So I need you all to encourage me while I encourage you to get back on the wagon and to practice what I preach by eating more meals that are close to their natural state than the opposite, which is what I've kind of been doing. Okay, so now I've talked enough. Let's get ready to make this French toast. So I have my 4 slices of bread that I put in the oven. If you can hear that, they sound kind of dry, which is perfect. Okay, this is gonna really suck up that custard really well. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make my custard. So I've got my Vitamix here. Let's move this out the way. Got my Vitamix here, and to this, I'm gonna put in my 1/2 cup of my extra firm tofu. I'm gonna put in my cup of my extra creamy Chobani oat milk. I'm putting in my 2 tablespoons of sugar, my 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of my vanilla extract. And again, because I'm obsessed with cardamom, that's probably about a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. And just like that, now we're just gonna blend it. And the key here is make sure that it is well blended. You don't want any chunks, you want it nice and smooth. There you go. I love showing you all how quickly these meals can come together. So now we're just going to transfer it to the bowl. And you see how thick that looks? Okay. We turn on my pan. Let's move this out the way. And what we're going to do now is we're going to dip this. So one of the things that I like to do, let me use this bowl. One of the things that I like to do when I dip my French bread or my Cuban bread, can you all see this? Let's see. Okay, let me move these things out the way. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to the coconut whip in just a moment. Let me move those things out the way. One of the things I like to do when I put my bread in my custard, I press it down and sometimes I squeeze the bread a little bit. So then the custard, it gets in there and you see the bubbles, it'll start to bubble up. Okay. So I do that. Oops. All right, that one is good and soaked because we want it throughout. We just don't want it on the external. So you dip it in, and that's going to soften it up a little bit. And you just kind of squeeze the bread a little bit, not too much because you don't want to break it. But you want to make sure that that custard gets all in through there. And you see, we're not using a lot of this custard, so you definitely could get more servings with this. Now, if this bread were soft, it would have completely soaked this up, and you would have a soft mess. There's 3 pieces. Let's make room for another one. Yep, softening up just a little bit. There we go. So there are our 4 slices. Let's move this aside. And while our pan is warming up, we're gonna make our coconut whip. I know some people don't like coconut. I'm coconut obsessed. I've often joked that if I had a restaurant, it would probably be called Coconut and Cashews. I love it. All right, so let me just step away for a moment and get my bowl. And here is a note. Whenever you're making whipped cream, if it's real or if it's coconut, do yourself a favor and put your bowl, whether it be glass or whether it be stainless steel, in the freezer prior to whipping it. It really helps the process. Okay. So this product is wonderful because typically when you use coconut milk, you have to refrigerate it. You can just take off the top. You have to be very careful not to use any of the liquid. Well, this product is made in such a way that you can use the entire can, and it makes a good amount, and it actually holds pretty well. I've made this and put it in the refrigerator, and it's held pretty well. And you see how it really stiffens up. I may have bitten off more than I can chew with this one. Let's see. There we go. But this is a great product. I really like it. Even people who claim they don't like coconut love this. It doesn't have too much of a coconutty flavor. You got that liquid in there too. Okay. Pan is warming up nicely. We're multitasking. So to this, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. As I said, you can add some lemon zest, lime juice, lemon juice. I'm going to add just a touch, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon because we want that brightness. I need a little bit of salt for this. Just a touch of salt. We can do, that's not even a 1/4 teaspoon. And a little bit of ginger. So that's about a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. You don't have to add it. I love all that stuff, so I'm adding it. Okay. And now we're going to use my hand blender. And we're going to break this up. I probably should have used a bigger bowl. Let's see. Let's not make a mess here. Let me get a bigger bowl. Let's use a bigger bowl. So my whole thing of using a bowl that's been in the refrigerator, that just fell apart. Maybe I need a splash guard on. Okay, it's coming together. Let me stop and put my French toast on. My goodness. All right, and this is a nonstick skillet, and I'm using some spray. You can use plant butter if you would like to. And we're just gonna put this directly on the pan. And we're just gonna leave it. We're not gonna bother it for a good 3 minutes, because we want it to get nice and golden, okay? So you want to leave it alone. There's always a temptation to play around with it, but we're putting it, can you all see that? Let me move this a little closer. There we go. So you've got it going. Put it in the pan. Just gonna let it stay there for about a good 3-4 minutes. Let's get back to our coconut whip that I'm making a mess with. It doesn't help that I'm wearing black, because it's making it very obvious that this thing is going all over the place. Okay, now that I've whipped it some, I'm going to add my sweetener, which is my erythritol. And I'm using about a 1/4 cup of that. This might get really exciting, people. Let's see what happens. What you should know is that this doesn't necessarily whip up in peaks like traditional whipped cream does, but it definitely has a whipped appearance, but it's not going to be high and as fluffy as the real deal will be. So let's see if you can see what this looks like when it's done. Okay, this is what it looks like when it's done. Let me just see. You see how it, that's what you want. You want to just make sure that it will not fall out of your spoon. It should be well combined. You can go a lot longer with this. You could put this in like a KitchenAid mixer and just leave it. That would be another option. Let's see with this. That's very good, actually. Okay. I'm just going to whip it a little more. And I'm going to add a little more, just a little more lemon juice, just to add a little more brightness to it. So let's say, let's say like a 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice. Depending on your taste. By the way, did you know that every 10 days your taste buds regenerate? And I've often talked about how we can retrain our palate. That is exactly why, because every 10 days our taste buds regenerate. And what you eat, you will crave. So if you are eating salads and fruit regularly, that's what you're going to want. Salads and fruit. If you're eating junk, that's what you're going to want. Junk. So we've got this done. I'm just going to set this aside. It can stand to be out for a few minutes. And our French toast has been going for about 2 minutes so far. Just going to take a little peek. Oh yeah, that's looking great. Just a little peek. I have fixed this French toast and people love it. It's one of those things that you can really do a beautiful presentation of it. You can use like a cast iron skillet, and you can arrange it in there and then just toss it with fresh berries, sprinkle a little powdered sugar on top of it, some mint leaves. It's such a beautiful presentation. I love to prepare this, and it's something that people always ask for, and they can't believe that it's vegan. So if you're somebody who's wanting to kind of sneak things into your family's diet, or you want to introduce people to things that are vegan without telling them, this is a great dish to prepare. And in a few weeks, I'm going to show you how to make my bread pudding. My best friend, C.C. Campbell Marshall, is the bread pudding goddess. She is known the world over for her bread pudding. And I prepared my vegan bread pudding for her, and she told me it was really good. So I almost had to, almost fainted when she said that. It's that good, really. Okay, so we have about 3 minutes on that side. Ooh, and it's beautifully brown. It's nice and golden brown because we didn't manipulate it. Let me just do this last one. Let me just show you what it's looking like. You see that? See how they're beautifully golden brown? That's what you want your French toast to look like. And we don't want it too high. You want it to gradually get there, because if you have it too high, you're going to have it nice and golden brown on the outside, but inside's not going to be fully cooked. So you've got a delicate dance. You're going to do it kind of like at a medium-high heat. Make sure that that pan is well sprayed with nonstick spray, or that you have a nonstick pan, or what I do, which is both, because it kind of guarantees that you don't have any issues. And you just let it take its time. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. And when it moves easily, that lets you know it's time to flip it over. If there's any kind of resistance, it's not ready to flip. Excellent. So we're just going to let that cook a little bit longer, and then we're going to get ready to plate. How are we looking for time? Oh, we're doing great for time. So as I said earlier, there's so many different ways you can decorate this. Me, again, with my whole Afro-Caribbean background, I love to use unique, different things on my French toast. So I have made, hi, Sam and Daniela. I have made French toast with slices of sweet plantain on top of it, and or chunks of mango. And you can do shredded coconut. You can even do like a guava drizzle over it, or a passion fruit drizzle. There's so many different things you can do to incorporate your culture wherever you're from to this. I guess is French toast a French dish? I don't know. Or is it an American dish and we just call it French toast like we call French fries French fries? I don't know. But there are so many different ways that you can bring in your culture to these dishes. And I encourage you to do it. Whatever your fruit is, figure out a way to do it. You can even take some fruit and like cook it down until it's like a not stewed, but you make it kind of like a, I'm at a loss for words. You can reduce fruit. So it's like a thick, fruity type of thing. I can't think of the word, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I have done that. Like I've done berries that way. There's so many different things you can do that just add flavor. Just add it at the last minute or set it on the side. You don't want this to sit in anything wet. But these look great. These look great. I'm just going to turn them over one more time just to make sure. But I want you to see, if you can see this, it's buoyant. It's not hard. Even though that bread was nice and almost seemed like it was too baked when I put it in, it's perfect because it sucked up the yogurt, it sucked up the custard, but it's still maintaining its shape. Suze, my sister-in-law, is watching. Sweetheart, whenever you come, we're ready to feed you. All right, so let's get ready to plate. And I'm going to show you, I love to cook. I love for things to taste good, but I love for them to look good too, because I think that's so important. And I think it's really important when you are introducing people to different foods. If they see it and it looks yummy to them, they're going to want to try it. So we're going to pile this French toast on this plate. We're just going to pile it right in the center there. We're going to take our berries. I've got some raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, and strawberries here. We're just going to put those on top. Oops, actually, let me wait on my strawberries. Save a few of these for later as well. Okay. We're going to take our coconut whip. We're going to put it right on top. Put some of our strawberries in there. To this, you could even put some almonds on this if you wanted to. So I lost my my little can that I use to do my confectioners, so I'm using this. Don't tell anybody you saw me doing this. How lovely is that? Actually, I have some almonds. I'm going to grab them. I'm going to put them on top. Looks like my cream might be sliding a little bit. But there you go, people. 100% plant-based French toast. Look at that. So good. Unfortunately, I can't eat this because I got back on the wagon yesterday. Do I want to get dragged down by the wagon again? Do I? No, I don't. This is yummy. This is 100% plant-based French toast. We've got Cuban bread. We've got a custard that's made from oat milk and extra firm tofu. 2 tablespoons of sugar is all that's in here. We have got coconut whipped cream that we use a little lemon, a little ginger, and so good. Fresh berries, some almond. Plant-based deliciousness. Let me tell you, people, when you switch over your lifestyle, you don't have to do without. We're just tweaking things a little bit. But I promise you, this will be one of the best dishes you have made. And look at this. Can you imagine this, like even more slices? You put it in the center of your breakfast table or your brunch display. People, my mouth is watering. People will love this. And anybody who comes to Tampa, call me up. I will prepare this for you and I'll blow your mind. Thank you for joining me again on Reclaiming Your Health. I look forward to seeing you all next week. I think we might do fish made from banana blossoms. I think we might do fried fish made from banana blossoms. I'll let you know. Take care. See you next week. Bye-bye.